What's up? It is A Sports Live on a Tuesday. Hope everybody had a great MLK Monday, snowy Monday here in Nashville or wherever you're at. Snowy Tuesday here in Nashville. A lot of places closed again. But going to have a great show here on this Tuesday. Talk about the Titans head coaching job and where it ranks among the other openings across the NFL. There are a total of 7 head coach openings in the NFL right now. The Patriots filled their position with Gerard Mayo right after the parting of ways from Bill Belichick. So we'll discuss where the Titans rank, what are the pros, the cons the Titans have compared to the rest of the NFL's after 6 seasons of Mike Vrabel as the head coach. Will there be more openings to come across the NFL at some point this week? That is what we'll wait to find out after Wild Card Weekend officially over with the 2 games yesterday, the Bills and the Bucs moving on to the divisional round. I know I'm pretty jacked up for wrapping up Sunday night, Bills and Chiefs, another rematch for those 2 teams with a lot of stakes on the line. We'll throw some shade at the end of the show. Zach, welcome in. How's things going?
Yeah, great shade today. Looking forward to shade. We got a lot to get to, a lot of openings, maybe more openings on the horizon with Philly and Dallas. You never know, but we're going to dive into this conversation, get everybody's opinion. I'm curious to see where the Titans shake up in the chat and in our conversation. So we are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Got you locked in right there. We will tweet out segment by segment, link by link on our Twitter account at A to Z Sports. Make sure you follow us there. That's where you can check us in and get in on the conversation each segment every morning. We also do that for prime time in the evenings. On YouTube, if you are watching on YouTube, it's the easiest way to view and interact with us. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Subscribe. Once you've subscribed, we're going to thank you for that. And then we're going to ask you guys to like this video. So if you've already subscribed, like the video that you're watching. It's very easy. If you're watching on your mobile phone, just boom, hit that like button. And then also, if you're on YouTube, and sometimes Facebook is wonky, so that's the reason why we're saying to do this, hit that bell. So there's a bell button where it will give you alerts when we go live. You don't have to worry about it. It's kind of carefree. Go straight to your mobile phone. Boom. There, you can join in on the conversation for our channel at A to Z Sports Nashville. Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers that aren't on YouTube, the ones that choose to go the Zuckerberg route, bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. So share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. And let's get this party started on a Tuesday.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Link to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by seeing them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations across the mid-state, Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. They are online at KrebsKubota.com. So, Zach, your Baker Mayfield-led Bucs make it past the Eagles and into the divisional round. You were saying you were expecting a loss, but a win would be gravy, and you got exactly what you were not expecting. But I'm sure you're thrilled with Baker leading the way, and now you're going to sign him to a big contract for $80 to $100 million, and you're going to be in Bakerland for the next 3 years, right?
Well, if you've watched Baker throughout the year, he's either really, really good or he can't get off the turf. Now, the games that he played poorly down the stretch, I mean, the dude was banged up. He was beat up. But last night, he played like the perfect QBR rating he had earlier on in the season and beat the Eagles' ass. So that's always a a good thing. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But I'm happy this morning. And now we got to go ruin Dan Campbell's season. So that's too bad. But we're going to try as hard as we can, man.
All right. Well, let's get to the openings across the NFL when it comes to the head coaches. We know that it feels like a lot longer than a week, but it's been right at 1 week since the Titans fired head coach Mike Vrabel after 6 seasons. And there are now 7 head coach openings across the NFL. The Patriots were the 8th, but the promotion of Gerard Mayo quickly eliminated them and took them off from this. So the NFL head coaching vacancies are in alphabetical order. Thanks, Sam, for that. The Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Seattle Seahawks, the Tennessee Titans, and the Washington Commanders. So we're going to dive in today to find out where do the Titans rank among those teams. And, if there is a bidding war, if there's a pecking order of coaches to come off the board of the top candidates, where are the Titans likely to fall in the rankings of these coaching openings? We talked about this yesterday, the virtual interviews that were complete. Mike McDonald from the Ravens, Mike Kafka of the Giants, Antonio Pierce of the Raiders, and then Brian Callahan of the Bengals. And the Titans have a lot of virtual interviews coming up this week before in-person interviews start next week, and second interviews begin the week after that. So we're going to get through the whole month of January, and there's not going to be a Titans coach hired because of the timeline you have to follow that the NFL has set up for this process. But Zach, how do you feel about the Titans and the company that they're in with those 6 other NFL franchises?
I think there's some positives for the Titans because of where they are. And then I also think that they are fighting an uphill battle because of just some placement things and some roster issues. So, you got to look at the Titans' problems and you got to look at their positives and just kind of weigh those versus these other teams. And I also think owner and general manager has got to come into play. And that's a big deal because when you are a coach and you are hired by somebody, ultimately, if you're not Bill Belichick or Pete Carroll or Mike Tomlin, you're going to get fired fairly soon if you don't do a good job consistently, right? And so that person, and sometimes there's a shakeup. Sometimes the general manager and the coach get fired. Sometimes the GM gets fired and the coach stays, right? I mean, that's kind of the unique part about what owners in football do. And I look at the situation that the Titans are in, and you got to look around of who do these coaches, and you just put them up on the board. There's a lot of coaches that I feel like carry some weight in the sense of I think Ben Johnson carries some weight, Slow carries some weight because of offensive acumen. Antonio Pierce, I think, is unique because of the Raiders situation. And so there are some candidates out there. You never know how they're all going to work out. They could all be terrible. They could, probably have the highest percentage that you're going to have is out of these 6, like 2 of them hit. That's usually how it works. Yeah. But I think it's an interesting company throughout all of, and then you got to look into where are they in the draft board, because draft capital is huge in building. This is not a completely quick turnaround. You got to think that all of these teams' expectations, and we're putting the Cowboys and the Eagles aside because they still have their coaches as of this morning, right at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. And that could change very quickly. Who knows? It could change in the middle of the show. I don't know. But putting those aside, the expectations of all of these franchises are still, hey, we got to build. The Raiders haven't won a Super Bowl in a long time. Neither have the Commanders, formerly the Redskins. Neither have the Panthers were the closest team that went to Cam Newton, right? And then the Falcons have been disastrous. The Seahawks have been
the Falcons were more recent to in the Super Bowl, though, I guess.
Right, and then they've had a collapse. I mean, we'll talk about the Falcons. The Chargers, they've kind of gotten little brothered in LA because of the Rams' success out of the gate. And then the most stable franchise, you'd have to probably put in, the Titans as far as winning, but really Super Bowls and playing at a higher level are the Seattle Seahawks. So you got a bunch of teams that I don't think next year you have to be in the NFC or AFC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
You have some time, but this is a big decision for the coaches, for the general managers, and for the owners.
Yeah, big decision for the owner. So let's go ahead and hear from the Titans owner, Amy Adams Strunk, on her optimism she has about this particular head coaching search by her organization, the Tennessee Titans.
I have high expectations, and I'll never apologize for that. And these fans deserve a great team, and they deserve a championship brought to the city. And that's what we're going to work towards. And I'm prepared to make the hard decisions to hopefully get us there sooner. This team has a bright future. We have Rand. We have a promising young quarterback. I mean, the sky's the limit. We've got cap space. We've got a great draft position. Things are bright for the Titans. I'm really very, very optimistic. And I'd like to thank the fans for hanging with us this year. Our season was unacceptable, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there sooner rather than later.
So there's Amy Adams Strunk, optimistic, bright future. This season was unacceptable, and she has a high standard that she's going to, carry here. And look, there's a lot. Zach, you've got your head shaking.
Well, Jody, I mean, it's insert owner, right? They can
Sure.
check all of those boxes, maybe besides the Seahawks as far as like disappointing seasons, but like all of the owners say that, right? High expectations. We want to win. So I don't think that's any surprise, but she got to back it up, right? She now has to say, okay, what is Amy Adams Strunk? She is the ultimate decision maker, the controlling owner. What decisions is she going to make sure the Titans hoist a Vince Lombardi trophy, right? If that's the goal, how are you going to get there?
Yeah, and she listed football reasons. She listed football reasons why she's optimistic about where this franchise can go. And so we're going to find out, and here's our question. Where does the Titans head coaching job rank among the 7 NFL openings? So we kind of want a number, right? We're not asking for you guys on Facebook and YouTube to give us 1 through 7. I've got mine. But where do the Titans rank among the 7? So is it 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 1st, whatever. But where do the Titans rank among the 7 head coaching jobs that are currently open? The New England Patriots is no longer open. Monty asked this question: how do the Pats hire so fast? Well, they got to skip all that protocol that the Titans and the other teams are having to do because they had it worded in Gerard Mayo's contract that he was the successor to Bill Belichick. So they didn't have to go through all that because it was in contract. So that's that. So where do the Titans rank among the other head coaching jobs? Number 1 through 7 is what we're looking for. Zach, looking forward to this conversation. But first, tell us all about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com/A to Z is where to go to get your health plan. I got my health plan 2 years ago. Now I'm on year 3 because the health plan has helped me year in and year out. Health, dental, and vision, 75 plus years they've been in business in the state of Tennessee. If you're a Tennessean, they've got 200 plus locations across the state. They've got agents peppered throughout the state. So you can go visit a local agent or you can go online at farmbureauhealthplans.com, FBHP.com to get your health plan. You take a quick health assessment. Once you go through that health assessment, I did, it's very easy. 24 to 48 hours later, they give you a quote, and then ultimately you make a decision. You're not forced to do this. It's in your hands. I looked at what the health plan gave me and what the cost was. I saved 20% and I got a better health plan than my previous provider. And man, I'm really glad that I switched, and I've kept them on over the last 3 years since I've switched. So count on them for health, dental, and vision. Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee. That's FBHP.com/A to Z.
It's playoff time, which means you can win in multiple ways with BetMGM. You can always use our bonus code ATOZ Sports. That gets you a first bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. But maybe you don't want to go big with that first bet. Maybe you want to go a little more methodical up and down the football field. The West Coast offense of sports betting with BetMGM. All you got to do is you sign up with the BetMGM app using this bonus code ATOZ200. That's ATOZ200. You place a $5 moneyline wager on any pro football playoff game, and you instantly get $158 back in bonus bets. That's $5 moneyline wager on any playoff game, and you instantly get $158 in bonus bets back, regardless of what happens with that $5 moneyline wager. So you can get that with the king of sportsbooks. That's BetMGM. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions, subject to qualification, and other requirements. Rewards issued and eligible bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem games, sport call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. So Zach, we're talking today. Where does the Titans job rank among the 7 total head coach openings in the NFL? I'll roll through them one more time before I send you to the chat. In alphabetical order: Atlanta, Carolina, Las Vegas Raiders, the LA Chargers, Seattle Seahawks, Tennessee Titans, and the Washington Commanders. Where do the Titans rank in open jobs? Zach, what's everybody saying on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch this morning?
King goes 3rd. George also says 3. Top 3 from Lane. 6th from Jody. 4th from Hello Ladies. 2nd from Nicole. 7th from Ramon. 4th or 5th from Jeremy. 3rd from Alex. 4th from John. 3 to 7. Add the Cowboys and Eagles. 5 to 9, and we're kind of waiting on that from Jameson. Right. Danny says 2. Van says 2. Koss says 3. Renaud says post the list. So go ahead and throw that list up there for everyone. Curtis says 3rd. Michael Wagner goes 3rd. Devin goes 2nd. 3 or 4 from Rashid. 3rd from Amnesia. Top 3 from Bo. Dad says 4. 2 from Arthur Smith. I don't think that's Arthur Smith that was just relieved of his duties. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just burner.
He's currently juggling things at a desk, so maybe that is Arthur Smith.
Matthew says 3rd, maybe 4th. Rooney says 3rd. Randall 3rd. Lucas 3rd. Scott 3rd. So I think the chat is probably settled on 3rd, maybe 4th. We got a couple of 4ths coming in here as more comments roll in. 3rd or 4th, Washington and the Titans. And I think, the fans are going, or the chat at least, you're going through probably a lot of same things that you and I went through as we put together our list. I am curious, though, Austin, where do you rank the Titans as far as coaching openings?
Yeah, so I put all these 7 teams in a 1 through 7, and we'll talk about where they all land later on. But I also created a phrase that next to the team of why. I have the Tennessee Titans right now 4th, dead center. 4th out of the 7. You could not be more center than that. And the phrase I used was actually just one word, ironically. I just said opportunity. That I put the Tennessee Titans 4th because there's opportunity here, right? But they're not playoff contenders immediately. And they're not completely in a terrible spot like some other teams we'll talk about later. There are some teams on these 7 openings that have awful cap space, that have a bad ownership, an aging roster with that awful cap space, and maybe don't have the best pick overall, or they've got a quarterback they're paying a bunch of money to already. But and Amy Adams Strunk, she said it earlier, is that you have a promising young quarterback. And I think whatever you think about Will Levis, labeling him a promising young quarterback is completely fair. From what we saw from Will Levis from 7 or 8 games that he played this past season. A promising young quarterback. That's not overstepping. That's not underplaying that value. He's young. He showed a lot of good things. He's a 2nd-round pick. You're only paying him $9 million total over the 4 years of his rookie deal. That's something you can work with. The Titans, as we know, have the 3rd most, right behind the Texans for 2nd by hundreds of thousands of dollars, but $71 million in cap space, according to overthecap.com that I looked at this morning. That could change with some other cuts like Andre Dillard and some other veterans that don't need to be here next year. So I had the Titans, Zach, at 4th, right there in the middle. And the phrase I used was opportunity, because you have an opportunity to come in here with that promising young quarterback, the 7th overall pick, and $71 million of cap space to work with in a division that, has CJ Stroud, who won a playoff game. But I don't think the gap between the Tennessee Titans at 4th and the Houston Texans at 1 is astronomical and can't be overcome in 1 or 2 years. I still think the Texans have a lot of things to figure out. The Texans were like the Jags of a year ago. they had the opportunity to win the division, win a playoff game because of the Jags' downfall, much like the Jags a year ago with the Titans' downfall. So I have the Titans 4th out of 7 right now.
So I'm more curious. You said 4th, but I felt like you kind of jockeyed for how good the job was.
It's a good job.
I'm surprised they're that far down on the list. They're a lot higher on my list.
Really?
I almost was going to put them number 1. And the reason why I couldn't was because of Justin Herbert. I think quarterback trumps all. I think I'd ask you this question. What are you viewing this question from what standpoint? Of the potential head coach, the coach coming in, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm viewing this as if I were a head coach candidate, how would I rank these jobs as far as opportunities and how, look, they're in different buckets. It's a weird range. I found myself being like,
then why are they so low? I guess my question is that 4th, there's only 7 teams, right? And they're better job than the Falcons and the Panthers. And if you say I would, you don't think so? Or
I have one of those teams above the Titans.
Okay. Now we got something, people. Hey, welcome to the show today. Get your popcorn ready because I think that is asinine. So I will tell you, I have the Titans 2nd.
Okay.
And there is, I think, many reasons why of the situation they're in and what they represent. So, and I told you, I think that they're close to 1st, but Justin Herbert as a franchise quarterback, I cannot get over. And you could argue about the Chargers cap situation is not great, but you're going to come in there and you can reset and build around a quarterback, I believe. And I think Justin Herbert has proven that. Here are the reasons why I believe that the Titans are 2nd. They don't have the quarterback, and I think that's the key to all of these teams. Geno Smith, don't sell me on that. But the Commanders, they pick 2nd, not 1st, so they don't have their pick of the litter. The Panthers, they don't have their pick of the litter because they've already picked and they're gone. They don't have their number 1 overall pick. The Bears do. I think that the Raiders are interesting because they're destination, but you got to look at their ownership. Mark Davis is a loon, and I don't think he can be trusted. Who do you want to work for? Arthur Blank, the Falcons. Who do you want to work for? He is 3 years and fired and has been for the last several 3-year stint. I think that the Titans have $74 million in cap space. They have a top 10 pick. They have the 2nd most proven quarterback out of all of the jobs that is for long term. Again, Geno Smith, I think, is always going to Geno Smith you. If your goals are to win a Super Bowl, Geno Smith is not the guy. So as far as long-term quarterback solution of what you know, I think the Titans are right there at number 2. You also have a very young general manager, which I think is a benefit for said coach, because some of the mistakes that are going to occur will be Rand Carthon's because of his inexperience. And I think Amy will recognize that, and the blame won't completely fall on the new head coach. And lastly, I think you look at the Commanders and LA with the Chargers, Las Vegas with the Raiders, the pressure there as a bigger market team, your opportunity of longevity, I think, is shortened because those fan bases, they get pretty testy pretty quick. I think you have an opportunity to kind of lay in the grass in Nashville, Tennessee, and say, okay, Amy has fired and done that for a number of years. I also think once an owner starts to have the Arthur Blank trend, you start to be trend, and you don't want that to be a negative trend. So I think more patience. The last thing I'll say finally is I think that the stadium is on the horizon at 2027, and I think that also is a benefit of longevity. Of they are probably not going to want to completely restart or change right before the stadium. So now that may be 4 years. They are the second best job on this list, and I've gone through all ownership and all of the other things. What you know, I don't think they're 4th. I wanted to put them 1st, but Justin Herbert convinced me otherwise.
I mean, this is going to be great because clearly you have the Chargers first. I do not. I have the Titans ahead of the Chargers, and I have the Titans at 4th. And so, look, I think
quarterbacks win in this league.
Yes, but Justin Herbert has not been able to.
And why though? I mean, that's the reason why they changed head coaches
for sure. And and there's a lot of, I think the different perspectives that can be had when having this conversation is fascinating. Because you asked me, like, all right, how are you viewing the list? How are you ranking it? Like, what seat are you sitting in to view it? And I'm sitting in I'm one of these candidates. But then there's more nuance to that. Like, what type of candidate am I? Am I a first-time head coach? Or am I a veteran head coach looking for the second head coaching or third head coaching job? Am I Bill Belichick? Or am I Ben
besides
Johnson?
Bill Belichick, maybe Dan
Mike
Quinn.
Vrabel?
Those are the only two.
Mike Vrabel?
I'll be curious to see what Mike Vrabel actually ends up doing.
Out
of all of the things that have happened very quick, Mike Vrabel has had 0 interviews.
Right, but he also doesn't have we didn't know Bill Belichick was having an interview with the Falcons until yesterday afternoon when they said, "Hey,
no, we knew that Bill Belichick and the Falcons had mutual interest days ago." Mike Vrabel's name has not been really attached to any job.
The Cowboys job. Bucks did that.
Cowboys still have a head coach currently.
I know, I understand. So maybe there's a reason there. So don't overlook our own Buck Rising's reporting of he heard that on
I'm talking
Wednesday.
about going to today. You talk about first-year head coaches. All of the interview candidates, there will be a lot of candidates that are just getting interviews to just get interviews, right? That happens.
Yeah.
But I look at this of where do I want to go and who am I working for?
Sure. So I think, again, I do think I looked at these as what type of head coach am I interested in? Because if I'm a veteran coach who has had a head coaching job before, then I think there are 2 teams that tickle my interest more than the Titans. And those are teams that I think are a head coach away from winning something and making the playoffs. And that is the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks. Because the rosters around that team, outside the quarterback is a question mark. There's no denying that, right? But the roster is ready around that quarterback hole, and a head coach needs to be filled in there with a quarterback who can suffice, and then you can go compete immediately for the playoffs in year 1. Because the Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons have a lot of talent. They do. And the Falcons have decent cap space. The Seahawks don't. But the Seahawks have 2 quarterback options that can show some type of ability.
They're not going to. Neither of them are going to win you a Super Bowl. I mean, look at the playoffs currently.
But
it's not fine if that's what you're trying to do.
I understand, but if I'm a second-year head coach, then you're starting at a higher floor, and that's where I would rather. If I'm a veteran head coach, starting at a higher floor is a good opportunity for me to do something, and that's where I have the Seattle Seahawks.
No, this is all encompassing. This is not just you're a veteran head coach. This is you're a coach. You're not a veteran head coach, right? This is a coach. That's how we didn't say veteran head coach. That's not.
I know. I still have a 1 through 7 rankings. I'm just telling you the analysis that I put behind it. Would you rather not have the analysis?
No, but you've specified for your rankings are just for Bill Belichick.
No, I didn't say that.
And Mike Vrabel.
No, I just said that is where the reason why I have the Atlanta Falcons number 2 and the Seattle Seahawks number 3 and the Titans number 4 is because I think those rosters are more playoff ready. They're missing a head coach and a quarterback, and they have the Seahawks have a quarterback on the roster that made the playoffs a season ago, right? They did not now. But I think those 2 teams have an opportunity to start faster with a new head coach than the Titans and the teams below them. That's my point. And look, there's a lot of nuance that has to go in these 1 through 7s. There's not one type level of qualifications that I use for this. It's off of instinct, gut, thought, and some, just trying to figure it out, put it in a blender and see what happens. And so that's where I have the Falcons at number 2, and I have the Seattle Seahawks at number 3 and the Titans 4.
The Atlanta Falcons are not a good organization. They have not been. and they don't have that great of a team. They've got some young pieces, and offensively, I think that's it. But they don't have their defense is suspect, and
they're deep, but their defense
is continuously always short.
Right, and
they
so
all up short.
Yeah,
that is the Falcons. I just that organization, and you've got an owner that notoriously your ass is going to be fired in 3 years.
Right. And
I don't want to work for that.
Okay. But you have a team, number one, that we'll talk about later on, that has an owner that's not very good, that has a bad reputation.
They have a quarterback. It is It is the ultimate X factor. We've all in the chat, everybody has watched enough NFL games to know that the ultimate X factor is a quarterback. Look at currently, this is the best part in January of where we are in the playoffs. Your teams are not going to win without one.
Here's the other thing is that, the whole Rand and Vrabel relationship has been coined as an arranged marriage between GM and head coach. If you go to a team that has a head coaching job that already has an established $50 million per year quarterback like Justin Herbert, that is now an arranged marriage too. That's not necessarily who that coach would hand select to be the quarterback. Now, Justin Herbert's got a world of talent. We know that.
Well, you're going to the Chargers knowing what you have. The arranged marriage is beneficial for both parties. You're not going to just randomly get online and get a wife from Russia, okay? This is somebody that is hot, sexy, and does all the right things and just needs some guidance. That's what Justin Herbert represents. So the arranged marriage, I don't agree with the analogy because the coach is going to sign up for this, and that's something that, why do you think Jim Harbaugh is interviewing for the job? It's not because of the ownership. It's not because of anything else besides he finally has a quarterback. That's why they're number one.
Look, I'm with you. I'm not saying that's the difficult part of this discussion is that there's a lot of different variables and different perspectives you can look at these jobs.
The arranged marriage is a benefit. That's a positive.
It could be. But you also know this, Zach. You also know this. Whenever you've got a highly paid quarterback and a head coach, the head coach is what gets fired first, not the highly paid quarterback.
That's the sacrifice, but that's how you're going to win.
I understand.
It's to prove it. It's one in the hand instead of two in the bush, and that's why I put the Titans at 2. Now I've believed in Will Levis. I thought that was a good selection. I thought he was going to be a good quarterback when he was drafted. He just needed development. Did the first year development go the way that I thought? No, I don't think it went how anybody thought, but he got some experience, and I think he showed some good things. All of the other situations don't have that great of a quarterback spot. You could argue the Commanders, but they have the number 2 selection. They're not guaranteed to get the best overall quarterback. And even if you're selected, you could end up being Sam Darnold or Zach Wilson, right? So that's where, and the Commanders are also unique because it's not Dan Snyder's Commanders, right? This is new. This is new ownership. Washington, D.C. is a big market, right? Yeah. Now, I don't think they're used to winning, so I think there's something to that. I think it's a longer-term thing. But I go quarterback, and then you talk about roster. If you're talking about the Atlanta Falcons roster, I would rather, as a coach, be able to build my roster with $74 million and a top 10 draft pick.
Look, you can.
The Titans are a better job than the Falcons.
Again, if I were a first-time head coach, then yeah, the Titans could be a better job than the Falcons. But if I'm a veteran head coach, there's a reason why Bill Belichick has interest in the Atlanta Falcons.
That's why I say your rankings are just
they're not
put together based on veteran head coach.
No, they're not. Because I haven't told you who my number 1 opening is yet. So if you're ready for that, we can get to my number 1 opening. And
if it's the Panthers, we're gonna go. I'm going crazy.
It is not the Carolina Panthers. I said one. You listed both NFC South teams, and I said one of those is ahead of the Titans, and I already said the Falcons. So it's not the Carolina Panthers.
Jeez.
All right. We'll get to my number one and we'll see how Zach reacts to this one. But first, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn for all of your injury care whenever that injury pops up in life. It always comes out of left field. You can never expect or plan for that injury. Don't let it be an inconvenience. Get back to the field of play, whether it's your social life, your family life, work, whatever it may be that injury or that lingering pain is holding back. Go get it checked out, the Bone and Joint Institute. Don't fumble on your recovery. They've got all the resources and the experts under one roof right there in Franklin. I've been there for shoulder pain, foot pain, my knee surgeon's there, my guy, Dr. Arthur, everybody that can help you out. Get back on the road to recovery and live a healthy, fulfilling life with the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports. We're powered by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. Download the app today. They're the king of the sports book. They've got tons of deals and boosts going on within the NBA, within the NFL playoffs, huge divisional round on the horizon. So lock in and download the app in your Apple or Android app store. That's BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right. So I've gone through, I had the Titans at the fourth best job opening in of these seven. And then I've got the Seahawks at 3 because they have a ready roster and a chance to compete for a playoff spot this season, this upcoming 2024 season. Same thing for the Falcons. Have a roster ready minus the quarterback. And there's rumors out there that they could be trading for Justin Fields with all the weapons they have outside. I'm fascinated in that for a veteran coach. So Zach, my number one, who I would rank the number one job opening in the NFL is for a completely different reason. And it's not for a veteran coach. This is for somebody who wants a complete, clean slate. And that is the Washington Commanders, because they have the number one amount of cap space, the number 2 overall draft pick, a brand new GM in Adam Peters, who has turned down GM interviews in years past as the second guy behind John Lynch in San Francisco. He immediately takes the Washington GM job. You've got brand new ownership. You try to get the toxic the hell out of there with the Daniel Snyder stuff. And you've got a wide open, clean slate to go do something in a division where it matters. And you've got 2 teams that have been leading this NFC East in complete turmoil right now, who are trying to or thinking about and possibly pulling the trigger on starting over 2. And those 2 teams have a ton of pressure. The Washington Commanders, you're starting afresh, literally from the top down, new ownership all the way down with a brand new quarterback. The Washington Commanders have the most cap space in the entire NFL. That is the number one job opening because it's yours to mold with Adam Peters and with the new ownership. Like, there's not a cleaner slate you can start with. That would really, really be interesting to me.
It's only like $4 million separate the Titans and the Commanders as far as cap space. So it's yes, they do have the coined and the most cap space, but it's not that far off.
Then there's 5 picks separating them in the draft order.
But you also have your quarterback. You can address the things that you actually need to address. That's why I would rather know what I'm getting into and they don't have the number 1 overall pick. I think the Commanders, if they have the clear number 1 overall pick, I think it's probably a different conversation and we agree more. But the fact that they have 2, that means you're either going to have to make moves to get to number 1, and that may be possible. Others may move over you because they want Caleb Williams, who is he's basically said 2 things. He's declared for the NFL draft and he doesn't want to play for the Bears, right? So like that, it creates opportunity. I don't know Caleb Williams' feelings on DC or the Commanders. I don't know. I think you talk about I feel like Caleb Williams has been privileged. Like, he plays at USC. He's silver spoon in his mouth.
Did you see the penthouse that he has?
Yeah, he's now NIL beneficial. So they pay him so much money, and this is LA money, right? I mean, when $1,000 in Nashville is about $7,000 in LA, right? So he's made plenty of money. I feel like he could create problems. Now, is he the best quarterback prospect? Yes, I think on paper and on film, the talent is there, but the diva, I think, can create problems. It's like Cam Newton. He had that diva-ness to him, and that ultimately hurt him in the long run. With number 2, what quarterback are you going to get?
Yeah,
you've
probably.
got to love this quarterback draft class, and you've got to not like Will Levis. If you're going with those two, because I think the Commanders and the Titans Commanders are 3 for me. So I'm right there with some of the same type of arguments.
Reasons, yeah.
I just think number 2 is a huge catalyst because you don't know your quarterback, and Drake May better flip your franchise. And I don't know.
For the record, Caleb Williams is from Washington, D.C. So that's, another interesting thing that could happen there is that you could go out there and
now you got to give up capital.
Yeah, but flipping it from 2 to 1 is look, it's expensive. I'm not saying it's not.
You don't think that the Bears are going to hold you hostage? Like, that's today's age. Look
Right,
at what the Cardinals did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look what the Cardinals gave up to draft CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. I mean, I thought we were all surprised by that.
Yeah. Sure. And they gave up the Texans went and got the 3rd pick for an edge rusher, not for a quarterback. So look, I'm not denying that it wouldn't be expensive, but moving from 2 to 1 is not,
I think, gone.
Yeah, for sure. But again, it's all about the clean slate ability. And I think if you're a coach, going to Washington at this time is the right time to be a part of that, because you truly get to build a brand new foundation for a fan base that has been drugged through all the broken glass and mud and, toxins over generations, that you have a chance to bring it out with new ownership, a GM. There is truly a tied to the hip and a all-in-one mentality of moving in the right direction with whoever the Commanders hire as the head coach. That's why it's number 1 for me. And so that's kind of, with my list, it was weird because I understand it was weird. It was how I had to come up with it. But Washington 1, which is a start fresh job. Then I've got Falcons and Seahawks 2 and 3, which is a veteran head coach job, because the floor is low. Like, the floor is kind of low. Or the floor is higher.
You're going to get fired. you like, the Falcons notoriously are bad, right? That's their history. And the owner has not changed. Now you're going to get to play in a cool stadium for a few years, and your defense needs to be reconstructed. And all of you're missing the biggest piece, which is the quarterback.
Right. But
you're not in draft position to go get one.
But look at, excuse me.
Plus, you're already
what
paying
you have
Ritter
to work with,
and Heineke.
You're not paying Ritter anything, or Heineke anything.
He's still on the roster.
Yeah, but he's a 3rd round. But Desmond Ritter's a 2nd-day pick. Like, you're not paying him penny. You're paying him pennies. Heineke's not making anything but around no more than $9 million a year, which would be crazy if he was. So there's opportunity for the Atlanta Falcons to do something. The Atlanta Falcons have way more to work with right now than the Tennessee Titans do. And it's just a different mindset.
Way more to work with. They don't have a quarterback. The Titans at least have.
The Titans don't have anything else.
Has shown signs. They have Tajay Spears, DeAndre Hopkins, Jeffrey Simmons.
They need 4 new offensive linemen.
And that's why they have the cap space in the picks.
Right. Look, again, so there's not a large gap between 1 to 5. That was because I could make an argument for not all of those 5 teams to be the number 1 spot, but I can argument for the others to be a number 2 spot right there. So Jay says the Titans job is number 5 at best. You have the Titans at number 2. I have the Titans at number 4. And so, Zach, we already know you have
I'm curious about your chart, like the Chargers, the one team that has a quarterback that is he's the best quarterback out of any of the teams, and he's not even in your top 5, top 4.
The Chargers are 5th for me. The Chargers have, depending on where you look, either -34 or -$44 million in cap space. Justin Herbert is making a ton of money. It is an old roster that is highly paid roster that typically gets hurt. And Dean Spanos is a way worse owner than Arthur Blank. Arthur Blank might have a quick trigger on firing coaches, but that's because I think he's got a high standard and he wants to get back to the Super Bowl.
They all have high standards.
Dean Spanos should have moved on.
You're at least going to keep your job for another year. Like if we're looking at it as the coach, you're going to keep your job for an extra year than Arthur Blank. And I also believe, as that it's an old roster, you're going to get a little bit more time because that's understood that they're going to have to flip it over. You're going to have to cut a lot of these older hats.
Dean Spanos, his reputation is cheap and sleazy. And that is not an owner that I would want to work for.
Well,
and so
he's been the opposite of cheap since he landed in LA. I mean, they've spent the most money of any team.
But
they've given huge contracts to Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and Justin Herbert.
Right, but it's not about
Keenan Allen.
But you can be cheap in a lot.
No, you know the Titans haven't paid any form of any of those players besides Jeffrey Simmons, the only guy. Like there's four Jeffrey Simmons type players.
Time out. The Titans have paid market value or more for all the players who had deserved to be paid that, minus AJ Brown.
The Chargers owner was cheap. And I just listed
cheap.
The four biggest contracts is all on one team.
Zach, cheap can be, I'm not talking about paying players. I'm talking about what goes on around, like not like being cheap around facilities and being cheap in other things, not spending salary cap. Of course, you can't be cheap in paying players and have negative $40 million in cap space. It's cheap in other ways, not cheap in salary cap spending. Just to make that clear.
I believe that the Chargers are building a brand new practice facility.
Well, yes, because he had to, because they moved to LA. They couldn't mooch off the Rams like they did the stadium.
Cheap.
They mooched off a Stan Kroenke for the whole stadium.
Like everything that the Chargers have done since they landed in LA goes against you saying that the owner is cheap.
Then he's sleazy.
That may be a reputation, but when you go to a team, when you work for a company that's cheap, it's not fun. You get frustrated, right? And that's just not what this position would be. They have the best quarterback. And look, you're in LA, so I think you're gonna spend money. The pressure is less than the Rams. I think that's also valuable. And I just believe that Justin Herbert, out of these teams currently, and that's all we know. Caleb Williams could be unbelievable. Drake May could be unbelievable. Penix could turn the world on its head. We don't know that. But right now, the most capable quarterback to win a Super Bowl is on the Chargers roster. Nobody else's.
Yeah, sure. But like they got a lot of work to do. And you're going to have to
that's how you win in this league. It's no other way.
Right. And you also got Patrick Mahomes in your division too. And so I've got the Chargers 5th behind the Titans because I think the Titans have a better opportunity than the Chargers because of their overall situation. There's not a Patrick Mahomes in the AFC South. The Tennessee Titans have a bunch of money to go build around Will Levis. Is Will Levis the guy? I don't know, but promising young quarterback is a fair representation of him. But I just want to reiterate this. It's a lot easier to build a brand new practice facility when you don't have to, get billions of dollars to build a new stadium because Stan Kroenke and the Rams did it for you.
Well,
right?
You just said he was cheap, and all the things that he's done since he's been to LA go against that.
His reputation is cheap and sleazy, and I'm not talking about paying contracts. I'm talking about how you operate. You can be cheap and spend money, but you do it in a way of like sketchiness.
By definition, that's incorrect, but it's here nor there. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you have the quarterback. He's proven that he's willing to pay for. What is the coach? The coach wants you to get players, right? And that's why it's not the 5th. The Chargers are not the 5th job on this list.
I think Dean Spanos is not a good owner. I would rather work for Amy Adams Strunk, Arthur Blank.
Arthur Blank? Look at his history.
He's
got the quickest trigger in the league. You're dead, bud. It's cloud of dust. You're gone. And you know what? He washes his hands and he just goes hires another one. And you've got nothing to show for it. Arthur Blank was supposed to be this offensive guru that he's going to come in there and give some time and some patience to. Well, the results are in and he's fired. And here's the other thing, a caveat that we haven't talked about. The Chargers, one of the things that you could sit there and say is, oh man, well, they're in the Patrick Mahomes division. I kind of I lessened that because of two things. There's an extra playoff team now, and you're going to have to beat them regardless. If it's not Patrick Mahomes, it's Joe Burrow. If it's not Joe Burrow, it's Lamar Jackson. If it's not Lamar Jackson, it's Josh Allen, right? So, like, if the goal is to win and get to AFC championships and Super Bowls, you're going to have to beat those quarterbacks. And I'd take the best quarterback that is currently there, and he's under contract. That's not looming over you. So you could sit there and eventually Patrick Mahomes' $500 million contract becomes a benefit, right? Sure. Because all the other inflation.
Look, I think there's reasons why people have different opinions, right? Because you see things different ways. And I do not see Justin Herbert as a Super Bowl champion type quarterback. I believe he's insanely talented. He's got all the talent in the world. I just haven't quite seen the killer instinct yet. You know,
You don't watch Chargers games. I will say that.
The Titans
you don't watch enough Chargers games. There's a reason why he got the contract. Go look at
the reason why you get the contract. No, Zach. Like you're not understanding what I'm saying. Like he's got boatloads of talent. I just don't think he has quite yet the mentality of a clutch factor Super Bowl champion. The Titans have beaten him twice. I saw the Jags come from forced touchdowns down to beat him in the playoffs when that game was in hand. Brandon Staley sucked, no doubt about it. But I don't buy Justin Herbert stock to be elite yet. Maybe like you do.
That's why you need a coach.
Sure.
And their defense was one of the worst down the stretch in the league. And
because everybody gets hurt and they're expensive. That the Chargers have been counted. The Chargers were the Titans before the Titans. Everybody getting hurt, right?
Yeah, with the quarterback, I think so. I think do we at least agree on one thing, that the Panthers is the worst job?
Oh my gosh, yes. And somebody corrected you when you said Arthur Blank has the quickest trigger in the league. Now that would belong to David Tepper. David Tepper has the quickest trigger in the league. So yes, the Panthers were the easiest slot to fill in 7th. If I could put the Panthers
Tepper waits 1 Mississippi while Arthur Blank waits 3 Mississippi to fire you.
Yeah. If I could put the Panthers 8th, I would have done it. I just think they are atrocious. Now, there's one team I don't think we've mentioned really much at all. I want to get to here in a second, but first I want to tell everybody about Krebs Kubota. KrebsKubota.com is where you should turn for all of your equipment needs. They've got 3 locations across the entire mid-state to help you out and get that piece of equipment that you're needing for your home, your property. That's Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro. Krebs Kubota is an elite Kubota dealer, which means they have the best equipment and the best warranties in the entire equipment industry. So whenever you're trying to work on something outside, you need to go get that orange Krebs Kubota equipment right there to make sure you've got the best in the business to get it done the right way. If you just need to rent something for a weekend project coming up this winter or spring, Krebs Kubota can take care of that for you as well. The best customer service on top of the best equipment, KrebsKubota.com.
It is esports. We are powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today in your Apple or Android app store. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. They're the king of the sports book.
All right, so the one team we really did not discuss whatsoever is the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders are kind of in this abyss of what? They're not as good of a job as the Chargers.
I have the Raiders number 3.
Really?
Yes. They're better than the Falcons and the Seahawks. And Mark Davis, I think we all know what Mark Davis is, right? But the one thing that the Raiders have now that they didn't have before is they're in Las Vegas. And that is a place that players want to be. It is, and we've already seen that, right? the requests of trades. You have Devontae Adams. You have Max Crosby. Those are two, what do we say, top 15 players in the league. I know Devontae Adams has probably gone down because he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers. But Max Crosby is top 5 pass
damn
rusher.
good. All pro, right?
Top 5 pass rusher, right?
Sure.
You have those pieces. I think that they are. I mean, do you think that the Raiders? I guess I would push back on this. The Raiders are a better job and are more ready than the Falcons.
No,
they have better players, and
I think the Raiders have a couple like high-end players, but I think the Falcons have more volume of good players. And you need volume. The
Falcons have more unproven players.
But young, like, it's young talent
has been a disappointment.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson has been a disappointment.
Right.
Drake London
because Arthur
has
Smith
actually been
figure
very
out,
good.
Like, who is that?
Drake London has been very good.
I just think the Falcons have a lot of skill that can be utilized by the right person.
And they haven't had.
Sure. But I mean, Martin also says this. Mark Davis is broke. He's not broke, but he's definitely the most cash-strapped owner of any of the NFL owners.
Well, that is changing very quickly. And that was his business investment. You're going to make a lot of money in Las Vegas in a short amount of time. And he's already, like, going into the whole deal. Yes, that was documented, right? He didn't have but that changes very rapidly when you're Mark Davis.
Yeah, Mark Davis did. Well, it's like why is Mark Davis not as rich? Because he doesn't have Walmart or other businesses that are propping him up. Like, this is his business. This is his main.
Yeah, he inherited a franchise in Oakland, which is not a great spot. So he spent all the money that he had to move it to a more profitable spot, which is Sin City, which turns dollar bills left and right, left and right, left and right. That's why I think very quickly Mark Davis will have the money.
Yeah, but you don't very quickly become billionaire rich from a cash standpoint. It's going to get better.
I think in Las Vegas, I mean,
usually people go to Las Vegas and don't become rich.
Well, yeah, because people go and then they leave. He's there. He is the cash. He is the bank. He's the casino.
Right. So I'd still look. Yeah, it's going to be better than Oakland, but so I'm going to go through my list and you can go through your list since we've kind of done it choppy. I have number 1, the Washington Commanders. You have a clean slate there completely. The Falcons are number 2, roster ready minus a quarterback, a lot of talent to work with. Number 3, the Seattle Seahawks are kind of the NFC version of the Falcons, but I like the Falcons' opportunities more than I do like the Seahawks because of divisional pressure. Number 4, I have the Titans' opportunity. We have discussed that every day. The Chargers are 5th for me. They've got a quarterback. I don't like Dean Spanos, bad cap situation. And that's we've discussed that. I have the Raiders at 6 and the Panthers a complete mess at number 7. And the Raiders, I said, less opportunity than the Titans. And I think you put the Raiders behind the Titans too. Less opportunity than the Titans, but no quarterback to really build around.
Yeah. They are wouldn't you argue that the Raiders are, because of the quarterback, the Chargers are the most ready to win right now?
The Raiders?
No. I mean, they're more ready to win than the Falcons, the Panthers. The Seahawks, the Seahawks are unique because I just feel like they are going to stay at that level as long as they have their current quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a quarterback this year and kind of groom for a year and then kind of take the same approach the Titans tried to do last year.
For sure. No, I think the Falcons have a better chance to win soon just because of the division they're in.
All right.
The Saints are go ahead.
I had Chargers, Titans. I had Commanders 3rd. Raiders were 4th. Then Seahawks, Falcons, Panthers. So
that's because you're a Bucs fan. You put the NFC South teams down at the bottom because you're a Bucs fan. It's all NFC South bias. That's all.
They're poorly run organizations. Like, crazy as it sounds, the Bucs have been the best run organization in recent years. The Saints have had their issues in transitioning from Drew Brees. The Panthers have been a literal dumpster fire, and the Falcons are throwing spaghetti at the wall and nothing sticking. So I think I watched those franchises closely because
you're a Buck,
because of that. But that's why I put them at the bottom. Is just I don't think that they're good franchises, and they haven't been.
Yeah, I mean the Bucks have won a Super Bowl recently. Tom Brady, they bought it, they put it together, but they've won the second most playoff games since 2020. We also got stat graphic yesterday on the playoff game. I think the Falcons have an opportunity because there's not a lot of difference between the Bucks and the Falcons. And if the Bucks have been the best run organization and they win the division at 9-8, and the Falcons are 7-10, and they fired their coach, I think there's the room to grow is much higher with the Atlanta Falcons, and that's why I had them ranked so highly compared to you.
Well, they had 2 wins guaranteed with the Panthers because they played the Panthers, right?
So did the Bucks. So there you go. That evens out.
Well, the Falcons are further behind.
My point was 9 wins and 7 wins, and if you want to take off 2 from the Panthers, then 7-5. Like they're both the difference between the top and the Falcons in that division is not that much, which is why I
think that as you will be like most Falcons fans, disappointed.
I'm not emotionally invested in the Falcons,
but disappointed in what you think the Falcons will be.
All right. So look, tough exercise just because there's a lot of different variables and nuances to look at, but fun conversation. So Zach, you get the Titans second. We'll see how that plays out for them. If they can get the head coach that they want and need for this opportunity for the franchise. But Zach, now it's time to throw some shade. Let's get it going. Wilson County Hyundai, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Zach, appreciate the message. I forgot the super chat. My fault.
See, I'm a man of the people. I keep them in line. The super chats. I look at the super chats, guys. I'm a fan of the super chats.
That's my bad. Kane says, according to A to Z, which of the 2 of the 6 is more likely to hit and was a successful first year of being realistic, including record? I mean, there's a lot to that. Which of the 2 jobs is more likely to be a hit? I can't answer that because I don't have the coaches hire yet. And I kind of have to have the coaches in place before I can say successful.
Well, that's kind of when, and there is nuance to that because I said that earlier in the show that a good percentage out of the 6 hirings is that 2 coaches will hit. And kind of as you said, if we don't know the coaches and their teams, but Kane, I do think brings up something to revisit once all these are hired, and let's go through the same exercise and let's maybe re-rank them because if now you have the coaches to connect the dots. If the Titans hire a defensive coordinator, their ass is not going to be number 2 on my list. I'll just tell you that.
Right. And then look, Mike Vrabel was the longest coach in his cycle, the longest tenured coach in his cycle of hirings, and he made it 6 years. So that kind of tells you the situation there. All right, throwing shade now here to wrap up this Tuesday. Zach, I'll let you start or go to the chat.
I'll start as the chat goes through, so you can kind of look at the chat in between.
Yeah.
Mine goes right into football, and my shade is on the laughing stock that the Philadelphia Eagles are this year. And you know what I compare them to? It is the Titans last year in a lower level, the Philadelphia Eagles this year on a much higher level. They started out guns a-blazing. They had all the national attention. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts was lighting the thing on fire after their Super Bowl appearance, and they wet the bed. They went tank, and it has been hilarious to see. Injuries obviously have crept up. The dislocation throwing finger and A.J. Brown, that impacts their
Jalen Hurts' knee too early in the year.
Right, but Jalen Hurts said that his knee's fine. That's just what he said. But at the end of the day, they completely crashed and burned. And I think that was a hilarious storyline for the NFL over the last several weeks. I love to see him go down to Tampa and get the cannons fired on him to actually end their season. Then Jason Kelce, after all of this rise, now he just like loses and retires. Like it's a weird storybook for the Philadelphia Eagles. the turmoil within, and I think that goes to the whole nature of like Philadelphia is they're high and then they're low, they high and then they low. And so that was great to see last night. I thought to end that story, and who knows? And look, I don't disagree. AJ Brown, phenomenal player. I think that would he be as toxic in the Titans locker room? I don't know. We'll never know. But he was toxic down the stretch because I think too many cooks in the kitchen. There are a lot of cooks in Philadelphia, and I don't know how many cooks will be there next year. Tons of talent, and pew, crash and burn.
AJ's always been this way, though.
Yeah, but it's amplified
when it's good,
in Philadelphia, and it's amplified around other superstars like Jalen Hurts and Smith and Sirianni. Like, that's why it was even more toxic.
Sure. I'm not disagreeing that there's more eyeballs on the Eagles than there are the Titans, but when it's good, AJ's good. When it's bad, AJ's toxic. That's kind of what AJ is. So more shade coming in. Eric says shade on the Cowboys fans. This isn't your year. Patrick says shade on AJ, telling Byard he's a winner now, which is getting a lot of replay here. Rooney says shade on this awful weather. Let's see. King JP says shade to a lot of people who drive big pickup trucks, thinking because they drive a truck, they can pull out in front of you in traffic. There is a type of
like jacked up. Man, I wish I had that. I had shade one day on a huge jacked up truck that had like, I think it said like pork hog. It had some huge sticker on the back of their window. You're talking about like those jacked up trucks. I agree with you. Nobody hear that.
Yeah, there is a big truck energy that you're like, ugh, God, come on, guy. Let's see here. More shade. Let's see. Zach Goodman says throwing shade at Bright Base Parking Company, gave me a parking ticket and is refusing to dismiss it after I've proven them wrong in every part of their job. I mean,
wait. Zach? Oh, hey, Zach, you need to talk to another Zach. I am an expert at parking, making sure to hold parking lots and parking companies responsible, because you got to test them. You got to keep pushing them. You got to keep calling them. Never let up. And also, shout out to Lucas, pork chop. It said pork chop across the back. That was the big sticker. Lucas, great memory right there.
Oh, gosh. Bork says shade at all the super wild card round blowouts. Yeah, fair shade.
Only one 1-point game, and that really was over because the Lions just got first downs.
Yeah, but there was drama, man. Like I only one score game, right?
Yes.
Man, and
then
like
I
Bills,
said, it was 4 minutes left, and the Lions just ran the clock out.
Well, there were a lot of games that were over early, like 21-0, Bills over Steelers. The Cowboys got down 27-0. Like there's a lot of those like quick, fast starts that were just really over early. Stephen King says shade on his shoulder for continuously dislocating. Well, you can go to the bone and joint.
Sounds like a torn labrum. I had one of those.
Yeah, Demetrius says shade on RG3 and former Commanders coach Jay Gruden for having a mid-off via X, formerly known as Twitter. Did you see that last night? I don't know the context of their relationship. Were they joking or were they serious?
I don't know. With RG3 is annoying. Like he is annoying. That is the easiest way that I can describe him. So I don't know whether he's joking. He does all these videos while driving and like instant reacts to get attention. He's kind of replaced Emmanuel Acho. You remember that guy? That guy is also annoying. Both of those people are annoying. And so I did see that this morning, but he did it with like a smile, like he did a picture.
Yeah. I think they're like playing around with
but they didn't have a great relationship because you were an offensive coordinator when they were with the Redskins at the time.
Yeah, I couldn't figure that out. Devin says, shade on salt trucks because apparently they don't exist in Middle Tennessee. I don't know. I saw too many salt trucks pre-snow. Like Sunday, Saturday, they were prepping, but it obviously didn't work that well. Jonathan says shade on the Bills for not putting a roof on their new stadium. That's actually where I was going to go because, Jonathan, I'm with you. The fact that the Buffalo Bills forced all of that movement because they had the ultimate winter storm that they're always going to have because of that lake effect in Buffalo, and they are spending $1 billion plus $2 billion on a new stadium just to have the same problems is the $1 billion example and analogy to the Tennessee Titans potentially hiring a defensive-minded coach to replace Mike Vrabel. What are you doing here? Like, you're just going to make the NFL do this again in the future? It's so dumb. So that was actually my shade, Jonathan. So bravo.
So I understand, like, logically that thought, but that is their identity. And here's another caveat. 850 million of that is taxpayers' dollars, and they're not bitching and moaning. Like, if the taxpayers are willing to pay, like when the Cowboy Stadium got built in Arlington, taxpayers were going crazy, right? Because they didn't want that, all that. But the Bills are going to pay for this stadium, or at least half of it. The Pagulas are going to pay for the other half. They're not complaining about it because that is the Bills' identity. I think that they like that. So, look, I'm not from Buffalo. Never been to Buffalo. I don't know if I ever will go to Buffalo. Maybe.
Probably not.
That I don't like cold weather, but they do. People in Buffalo like cold weather, and they wear it as a badge. So I think that's more weird shade, but I get it because they are the Bills Mafia. That's their identity.
But you can, like, I think it's just the fact that they had to change the whole schedule and broadcast stuff and everything. Like, I think they lucky
love that.
I know they do, but the fact that the NFL has to completely deal with that all the time is ridiculous.
They're paying for half of it.
No,
when you pay for it, you can do whatever you want.
I know. What I think the Bills should have done is do what they did in SoFi, where you have open air, but have some type of roof over it, open air with a roof, so you can still have the weather, but you don't have, hours and hours of asking for volunteers to come help you shovel snow.
Those Buffalo people love that crap. There's nothing else to do. They're like, let's go help the community shovel snow in the stadium, right? Like that. I just think that there are some people in some areas that's what brings them together.
But I get that. But there is a weather like science lake effect that goes into this. They get ridiculous snow like nobody else.
It'll happen again.
That. And it's going to happen again. And like, if the Titans hire a defensive coordinator, you're going to have the same reaction. Like the Bills are doing this and they're going to have the same thing. And I meant to ask you this yesterday. And I asked some of our guys in our management group, if your team was asking for volunteers to come shovel snow to clean off the field for a playoff game, would you do it?
Me personally?
Yes.
No, not a chance.
I would.
Then you should move to Buffalo.
No, I'm not moving to Buffalo, but I would do it. I would do it because of the experience of I'm not going to go out there and like work my ass off or anything. Like I'm going to go out there.
Good question.
No, I think it's because we get no and a yes. We get a C, a yes, and a no. But like I think that would be a fun thing to be able to witness, to experience the efforts and everybody, like the type of people that draws in, to people watch, to find out that I think it would be fun.
It's a great cause. I'm not part of that cause. I'm just not doing it.
And DeMario says if the money is right, it's $20 an hour on a Sunday.
Not even close to the rate.
I would do it. I would do it now. Like if you said Neyland Stadium is going to host a college football playoff game for the Vols and we need help shoveling snow off the field.
You drive?
Yeah. Well, one, we'd get great content out of it. So one, I'd do, but two, yeah, I'd do it because why not? Because that's an experience that you get to have and be there and just witness everything that goes into it. I think it'd be fun as hell. And I'm with Devin. I wouldn't need $20 an hour. I'd thank you for your $20, my gas money, but I wouldn't need it. I think it would be a fun experience.
Fishing off the coast of Costa Rica is an experience. I don't classify shoveling snow in Buffalo an experience.
It is an experience.
Okay. That's why there are many people to help. And
I'd do it. I'd absolutely do it. All right, guys. That'll do it for us here on this Tuesday. Appreciate it for you guys showing up. We'll talk more about the Titans head coaching search. We got a few weeks here to go before the Titans are likely to name a head coach. So make sure that you keep it locked and loaded here on our social media across our site, A2Zsports.com as well. And make sure you hit that like button on the show and subscribe to whether Facebook or YouTube you're watching. Subscribe to those channels and pages so you get the up-to-date updates on the Titans search. So we need more likes on the show. Always way more people watching than have liked the show. So hit that like button, and we'll talk to you guys later. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.